Hey John, man, good to see you again. Wow, the time really flies. Since the last time we spoke, the market has been all over the shop, and I think we've got some interesting insights in terms of how Bitcoin, in fact, the blue chips are performing lah. So perhaps let's start with you telling us what you think about how you're interpreting the Bitcoin price movement.
Sure. So if I were to look at a Bitcoin price movement, let me just share my charts. Okay. So if you look at the Bitcoin price movement, it has been moving quite well. Only until this was Thursday. So everything was moving extremely well. Earlier this month, we had a dump until around 3rd of August, and then we had a pump back up to close to 124K. However, on Thursday, everything started dumping until now. So if you notice that we have been having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of downs. Okay, these 2 days they were okay because they were weekends, and you can never really trust a weekend pump anyway, right? Because on weekends, market makers are usually not working. So we will only look into weekdays. So Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So far, every single day we are seeing a dump. So why is this happening? Is simply because last Thursday, the PPI index was released. And when the PPI index was released, what was shocking was this. The forecast was only 2.5%. However, the actual was 3.3%. And this is a huge concern to the entire market because this forecast versus actual is a huge difference of 0.8%. And if you compare to the previous, this is the difference of 0.9%. So what is happening right now is many of the investors are predicting that the tariff trade war is trickling its effect to inflation. And we are not seeing it on CPI yet, which is consumer price index, but we are already seeing it on the producer price index. So if the producers are being hit by such high inflation, what's going to happen is they're going to pass the cost to the consumers. And this is where they predict that the consumer price index will later on increase as well. And because if inflation is so sticky high, what is going to happen next is the Fed might be forced to reduce the number of times they reduce interest rates. So I still remember like 3 weeks ago when we were doing this interview, 3 weeks ago, the chances of reducing interest rate was actually 90%. But right now, you're seeing that it has been reduced to around 83%. And the last round we did this, the chances of reduction of interest rate was actually 3 times. But right now, you can see up to 20, which is December 2025, we are seeing that the chances of reduction of interest rate is only 2 times. So if let's say the liquidity flows is being shrunk compared to what was expected, then the chances of seeing a huge bull run may not be that possible. So this is the reason why we are seeing the crypto market. I'm not saying only Bitcoin, but if you look at all the other cryptos, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Solana, everything has been seeing rate since last Thursday.
So I don't see how the US government cannot compel the Federal Reserve, or the Federal Reserve cannot see the sense of dropping interest rates, because the bill of servicing the debt, which is I think something around 3.3% on an average basis for its $37 trillion of debt, is a lot of money. It's something like over $1 trillion a year by itself, right? And that I think when another I think $9 trillion of debt matures in a few months' time, that is going to be somewhere over 20% of their overall debt burden already. They cannot keep on servicing this, and they have to drop interest rates. So the way I see it is only a matter of time. How are you reading? So what I'm trying to say is, John, is this an accumulation opportunity?
So I totally agree with you, Chuang. In fact, what I do think is at this point of time, if you look at it, if we look into these possibilities of interest rate reduction, the possibility of interest reduction is around 83%. And if you go to Poly Markets is like a betting website for people to bet on the possible of interest rate cuts. The chances are also still very, very high. So my point of view is, like it or not, I won't say that 100% guarantee we'll see a rate cut in September, but we are already seeing a 83% chances of rate cuts. And to me, that is convincing me well enough to know that at this point of time, this dip is actually a buying opportunity. However, the question is this: Should we be buying Bitcoin? Should we be buying Ethereum? Or should we be buying all these other tokens? Which there's around 18 million cryptocurrencies out there.
So depends on what kind of investor you are, right? If you are more risk averse, then you would just stick to the blue chips. If you are more or less risk averse, then you buy some of those smaller altcoins, right? And as I think there's been some that have been moving, irrespective of what the PPI has been doing.
Absolutely. So if you look at the last 1 week, I look into the top 100 tokens, you will notice that the top performing token is this coin called OKB. OKB is a cryptocurrency token that is created by the crypto exchange called OKX. And then you have the second best performer is called MNT. MNT is a layer 2 blockchain. It's like those cryptocurrencies like Arbitrum, Optimism, they're all layer 2s. However, MNT has just made announcement where there's 2 leadership roles from Bybit. And Bybit is one of the world's largest crypto exchanges as well. I would say they are among the top 5s when it comes to crypto derivatives trading. And they have just announced that the 2 leadership team from Bybit will be a part of MNT. So they are looking to make MNT a part of the crypto exchange token. So we are seeing that there are some altcoins that are still performing extremely well. Okay, that being said, most of the other tokens, they are in red, because if you look at majority, this is the top 100, most of them are red. You look at the top 200, most of them are red, and this is the last 1 week. So I also want to emphasize something. Now, at this point of time, you may say that, hey, but John, I think if you want to be safe, just go for Bitcoin. But I would like to share with you a concept or a methodology. And the concept is this. The concept is called the path to alt season. And the path to alt season simply means, usually when it comes to the crypto market, after Bitcoin price have hit its all-time high, broken highs, now investors will feel that, hey, if I invest into Bitcoin, my chances of making profits aren't that high anymore. So what they will do is they will go to the second best, and they will go to Ethereum. And if you notice, last few months, Bitcoin has been performing very well up to June, and Ethereum was what was performing very well since end of July, since July. So since July, August, so this the past 1.5 months, Ethereum price has been performing extremely well compared to Bitcoin price. So you can see over here, July, it was around 2005. It went as high as around 4008, and then now it's around 4002. So the reason why, if you notice that the Bitcoin performance is not as good as Ethereum, and I use this thing called the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. Ethereum is definitely outperforming compared to Bitcoin. It's simply because of this model called the path to alt season. So when Bitcoin holders make their profits, they want to make more money, they will go to Ethereum. And then after they make more money in Ethereum, then they will go into the other large caps. Large caps are tokens like Solana, Sui, Ton, BNB, or Tron. And then later on, it will trickle down to what I call the altcoins. So one of the key metrics that we use as well is called the Bitcoin dominance chart. So Bitcoin dominance simply means, and when I want to look at the entire crypto market, how many percent of the entire market in terms of percentage is dominated by Bitcoin. And you can see over here, it was extremely high in around June, end of June, 27th of June. The Bitcoin dominance was around 65%. 65%, which means out of 19 million cryptocurrencies in the world, Bitcoin alone dominates 65% of the total market cap. But I want you to notice this, since June until now, it has dropped from 65% to now around 59%. And this is good because it shows that the path to alt season is happening right now. And what I actually did yesterday was I was studying, is the alt season really here? And you can see this is the alt season index. At this point of time, it looks like the chart is moving towards an alt season. You can see that this trend, we are moving towards an alt season. Okay, so over here, it means that it's better off holding Bitcoin. But when it moves to alt season, it means that it's better off holding altcoins. And you can see over here as well, when it comes to YouTube subscribers, well, YouTube subs are not back yet. Okay, why am I looking to YouTube and Google? It's because who are the people buying altcoins are simply retail investors like you and I. Now, however, when I look into YouTube views, what I notice is the views are actually increasing. You can see over here, the views are coming back. So the crypto natives that has been invested into crypto, they left and then they are making a comeback. It's just that the real new guys, new players in town, they are not seriously coming back yet, right? So you can see over here the subs are not back yet. And when I look into Google Trends, okay, I'm gonna use YouTube and Google simply because many of normal investors, they don't go on Twitter for crypto news. They go on Google and then they go on YouTube, right? They go on YouTube, they go on Google. Now, if I look into Google Trends, the search for cryptocurrency has been increasing since around July. Okay, so it means that more and more people are searching about cryptocurrency. And I'm going to show you something interesting. I searched for alt season. And when I searched for alt season, I was actually very shocked. You look at this graph, this is a hockey stick graph. It shows an exponential growth of people out there around the world that is looking for what is alt season all about. So I'm actually very excited. To be very frank, I am very excited because it shows me simple signs like this that crypto natives or crypto investors are making a comeback into the crypto market.
Okay, so I want to ask you about this traditional pattern of Bitcoin to large caps, or Bitcoin to Ether, then Ether to large caps, right? They don't really necessarily follow fundamentals. They just follow the size. So biggest, less big, then less big, and then to all season, right? The thing is with Ethereum versus Sol, it's quite clear that from a fundamental perspective, Sol outperforms Ethereum on a lot of metrics, right? In terms of transactions, transaction speed, DEX, developers, etc., etc. Why is it that Ethereum is still so popular? And you can see like the rise of treasury companies with Ethereum, like such as the one that Tom Lee of FundStrat has started.
Sure. So if you look into Ethereum, why is it so popular? Is simply because at the end of the day, you have to understand what's the difference between Ethereum versus Solana. Both of them are what we call layer one blockchains. Now, for your viewers who may not understand what it means by layer one blockchain, I'm going to give you an example. In layer one blockchain, what they do is they help project developers to launch their decentralized apps. So when you use you have when you use an iPhone, you have what we call the App Store. When you use let's say I don't care whether it's a Xiaomi or Samsung phone, you have the Android Play Store, right? The Google Play Store. So I want you to imagine Ethereum and Solana is like the App Store or the Play Store. Okay, so what's the difference between an App Store versus a Play Store? Why is it that when people want to launch their app, they will definitely want to launch on an Apple App Store first before they go on a Google Play Store? Why? When you go on an Apple App Store, it's so expensive. You have to pay 30% commission. And then for every transaction, you have to pay 30% It's very, very high. Compared to a Google Play Store, it's actually very, very cheap. However, why is it that most people, when they want to launch an app, they still want to go on an Apple App Store? And the reason is simple, simply because usually people who use Apple, they are perceived to be higher value clients. So if you look at the comparison of Ethereum versus Solana, it is the same. Most of the people on Ethereum network, they are your high value clients. And most of the users on Solana network is like your Google Play Store, they are a lower value clients. So who launches apps on Solana? It is generally meme coins. So meme coins are seen as a gambling tool in the crypto market. You compare that with Ethereum network, where people will launch like real world assets. They will launch decentralized finance, like banking on blockchain. So these are the more serious stuff. So right now, what is happening is this. What is happening in US is there is a transition period where cryptocurrency is now being legalized and more financial institutions are building their apps on blockchain. So when they look into all these layer one blockchains, they now have to choose. Do I want to build my app on Ethereum, which is like the Apple App Store, or do I want to launch my app on something that's cheaper but is filled with rubbish and garbage? Because I use the word garbage because most of the people launching tokens on Solana are meme tokens.
Meme tokens are fun tokens, but then at the end of the day, it's really a way for developers to launch cryptocurrencies to steal money from the public because most of these currencies can't even pump. So I call them garbage because they are what is wrecking this entire crypto market. However, they also bring up transaction volume on the crypto market because a lot of people who goes into crypto, they are not going in for the technology. They are going in to take a punt. They are here to gamble. They want to turn $1,000 to become $1 million in 3 months. So there is that market. So this is the difference here. So at this point of time, if you notice, I'd like to show you a chart as well. And the chart is this. Okay. Now the chart is this. Okay. So if you can see over here right now, what is happening is you can see if I compare the Bitcoin flows to Ethereum flows. Okay. Now this is the Bitcoin strategic reserves. These are the companies that are buying Bitcoin and holding it, and they have been doing it for years. But right now, we are seeing companies are now creating their Ethereum strategic reserve. And you can see the Ethereum reserve chart, you can see over here, is actually growing quite exponentially. And this is not only happening among these Ethereum companies. I just saw the news yesterday where Google just bought 8% stake in a Bitcoin mining company. And these guys, the Bitcoin mining companies, are now buying Ethereum too. Now, let me show you the number one. The number one company is called Bitmine. They are a Bitcoin mining company, but they are no longer buying Bitcoin. They are buying Ethereum. And I'd like to show you, this is the ETF inflows. So ETFs are those guys, the BlackRocks, the Fidelity, who hold in custodian of most of these financial institutions. I want you to notice the past few weeks, we are seeing a bit of green, a bit of red. But if I will just flip it to Ethereum, you can see the huge difference. The Ethereum flows are amazing. You can see the long green candles every single day. There's amazing net inflows for Ethereum. And if I go into the fund holdings, these are all these funds that are buying Bitcoin. I want to compare this to this. This is Bitcoin and this is Ethereum. You can see a huge surge for Ethereum. So at this point of time, I do think that this whole path to alt season is kicking out quite well, where money flows and capital and attention is moving from Bitcoin to Ethereum.
So how should we read the price action for both? Because Ethereum is not yet at its record high. I think they tried to breach it, and Solana I think got one at nearly $290. The previous all-time high was 260, but both of them have not reached the all-time highs in this current cycle. John, what is your read in terms of where and how high these guys are going to go?
Sure. So if you look at Bitcoin, it's all-time high. All-time high is 125K. Ethereum's all-time high somewhere here because I actually drew a chart, and the previous all-time high was around November 2021. And I want you to remember this chart. In November 2021, Ethereum was not a legal asset. Ethereum does not have an ETF. There weren't any builders building real stuff. When I use real stuff, I'm talking about institutions like the BlackRocks or the Franklin Templetons. They aren't building on Ethereum yet. But right now, all these are happening. We have ETFs, we have Ethereum strategy companies, and we have builders, institutions building on Ethereum. So previous high was 4,008. Right now, we are around 4,002. So I do think Ethereum has to break all-time high. Because if you were to compare 2021, and this was around November, November 2021, what was Bitcoin price back then? Back then, Bitcoin price at November 2021, let me put here, okay. It was around 63K. It's 63K. And Ethereum back then, right, was all-time high. And look at where Bitcoin is right now. Bitcoin has already doubled. Ethereum has not doubled yet. So I do think that Ethereum still have room to grow. And let's look at Solana. Solana previous all-time high was actually January this year. So in January this year, Solana broke its all-time high. And the reason why it broke its all-time high was simply because Donald Trump launched his meme coin on Solana. Okay, so remember just now I was saying there's a lot of garbage happening in Solana. Even Donald Trump launched his garbage meme coin on Solana. Now, Donald Trump's family, the biggest holding is Ethereum, but they did not launch their meme coin on Ethereum. They launched it on Solana. Now, what does that tell you? It shows you that Solana is the crypto casino of the world. When even the guys who owns Ethereum, when they want to launch a meme coin, they launch it on Solana. So that what happened was when he launched his meme coin on Solana, Solana price actually pumped from 220 to around 280, and then it retraced because the meme coin hype died and macro environment killed the crypto market as well for a few months. And right now, if you look at Solana, it's only $182. Now remember this, its previous high, $295. So just think about it when I show you all these data. At this point of time, will you want to hold Bitcoin or will you want to hold Ethereum or Solana? And the simple fact is most investors will think the same way too. So most investors are now moving into the next stage of this alt season where they're looking to Ethereum, they're looking to Solana, they're looking to other cryptocurrencies as well.
So how high did they go, John? You talked about how Ether will go past 4.8. What about Sol? How high can Sol go?
So previously Sol is around 280, 290. Actually, it's higher than that. Okay, actually Solana was actually higher than that, higher than 280. So if I were to pull out the charts on that day here, the high was actually 296, and right now it's 180.
Okay, so what does that mean? Because I've also seen price targets from Raoul Paul, for example, up to 1,005, right? And I don't know how he got these numbers, but the market seems to think this is possible. Whether in this cycle, I don't know.
Well, I don't know what was Raoul Paul's target for Solana because Raoul Paul was a part of the Solana Foundation, and right now he's a part of the Speed Foundation as well. And the last I saw, he's now working with Con Foundation as well. So I think we also have to we also have to bear in mind, whenever we see an influencer post something on social media, are they giving an unbiased view, or is it because they have vested interest in it to pump their backs? Now that being said, I'm also an influencer. I'm also a YouTuber, and I own a committee. We are the largest committee in this region, and I also have the ability to do that. And I'm telling you this simply because I want you to know that in the market, there are a lot of influencers who has higher abilities and influence than me. So you also have to bear in mind when they say certain things on social media, on YouTube, or in their interviews, we also have to check what is the vested interest that they have. Because compared to the stock market, if I'm a part of a public listed company, I tell you guys to buy my shares, I'm okay. No, I'll get jailed because of insider trading and all, right? But then in crypto market, it doesn't work that way. In crypto market, I can be a part of a company and then I keep telling people to buy the coin, and the coin price pump, I sell, I won't get jailed. So you have to understand the rules of the game is very, very different compared to the stock market.
So this is not good for people who don't really know how to make sense of the market, right? On one hand, you're saying that the opportunities are still there, the bull run is still intact, but at the same time, you're also saying that, hey, watch out, because there's these people in the market who are possibly shysters, right? And although you mentioned large caps like Sol and Ethereum, you're also saying at the same time that people like Raoul Paul, who's called very high top for Sol, may not be all that it seems to be. So which direction do you think is going to go? And I think, generally speaking, how far is it going to go?
Generally, I feel that at the end of the day, you got to get yourself educated first and you got to understand how the market works. So when you're able to understand how the market works, you're able to sniff out between what's real and what's bullshit. So I firmly believe that we are still having a possibility of another leg up. And why do I say so? It's simply because when I look into this data, we are definitely seeing 1, 2, 3 rate cuts by January. So when 3 rate cuts are coming, 3 rate cuts is going to come in the next 5 months, there's going to be massive liquidity in the market. For that reason, I do think that we will still have a leg up. However, whenever I analyze crypto currency, what I will always do is, yes, I do get information, but I also want to investigate on why is this person saying certain things? What is the vested interest for them? Are they playing? Are they giving a biased view or are they giving an unbiased view? Now that being said, I'm also a huge fan of Ralph. Okay, however, I do not take anyone's word for word. What I would do is I would like to listen to their perception, and this is what I suggest your viewers to do as well. Don't even have to trust me. You can listen to my perception and then you do your own due diligence, because I'm not here to tell you buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, buy Solana and you make money. I'm telling you that there's opportunities. And when you want to analyze something, you got to be very careful of the views and the advice given by any of these influencers on social media.
Okay, so directionally up and to the right, that's fine. But what are the possible challenges that can thwart this direction?
I think the possible challenge is definitely this week. We are having the Jackson Hole Symposium. This Jackson Hole Symposium is happening on the 21st to 23rd of August. And there's already a lot of news that says that the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, may seriously disappoint Wall Street at Jackson Hole. So if he's saying that, hey guys, we are not going to cut rates because PPI is too high, then I do think the crypto market is gonna have a huge bearish sentiment, and it's not gonna be crypto market alone. I think the entire tech stocks market as well is gonna have a short-term pullback or drawdown.
All right, man. I think the next few weeks are going to be interesting as well. I hope we speak again soon. I wish these things were weekly, but we can't because you're so busy. Until next time, John, thank you so much. And I hope the audience, I think, definitely got some value from this. So thank you so much, mate.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Bye bye.